Okay, welcome in. I'm going to be reviewing Tuesday's action and Wednesday's action all in the same video. Once I'm done Wednesday's action, we'll take a look at the standings from the National Hockey League. So there were a number of games on Tuesday. In no particular order, just because I cheer for Montreal. The first game that's going to appear is obviously the Habs and the Sharks. So in the first period, Macklin Celebrini would get his 17th goal of the season on the power play, assisted by Toffoli and Eklund, 5:52 of the opening frame. Cole Caulfield would tie the game up early in the second period, getting his 26th goal of the season. He's on pace to get his first 30-goal year, and that'll be a very nice accomplishment. He got that on a power play from Suzuki and Lane Hudson. Alex Newhook would give the Canadiens their first lead of the game, his 10th goal of the year, assisted by Alex Carrier and Kirby Dach, 4:53 of the second period. Colin Graff would score, getting his first National Hockey League goal, assisted by Blake Gaudreau, 14:51 of the second period, tying the game up at 2. Brendan Gallagher would give Montreal a 3-2 lead in the third period, his 12th of the season, on the power play from Dach and Newhook, 2:40 of the third frame. Tyler Toffoli, the former Hab, would tie the game up just over halfway through, getting a power play goal of his own. That would be his 19th of the season, assisted by Celebrini and Wallman. Yoel Armia would score shorthanded, getting his 10th goal of the season, assisted by Jake Evans, and that goal happened with just over 4 minutes remaining on the clock, so Montreal would win 4-3. The next game took place in Boston, as we had the Bruins playing host to the Minnesota Wild. There was no scoring in the first. To jump ahead to the second period, Charlie McAvoy would kick things off for the Bruins, getting his 7th goal of the season, assisted by Pasternak and Poitras. 5:46 of the second frame. Trent Frederick would score in the second period, increasing the Bruins' lead to 2-0. For Frederick, that'd be his 8th goal of the season, assisted by Poitras again, and Carlo, 14:14 of the second period. Late in the third period, Minnesota was down by 2. They would pull their goalie. Unfortunately, they were not able to score. Morgan Geekie would get the empty net goal with just 46 seconds to go in the game, so the Bruins would shut out the Wild 3-0. All right, the next game took place in Buffalo as the Sabres played host to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Bowen Byram would score for the Buffalo Sabres, 10:07 of the first period, getting his 6th goal of the season, assisted by Zucker and Tuck. Kent Johnson would tie the game up early in the second period, getting his 16th goal of the year, assisted by Van Riemsdyk and Perovanov, 1 minute and 47 seconds in the second frame. Alex Tuck would score in the second, getting his 17th goal of the year, assisted by Gilbert and Bowen Byron, 12:17 of the middle frame. He would score again with just 1 minute and 4 seconds to go in the second, getting his 18th goal of the year, assisted by Dahlin and Zucker. So the Sabres had a 3-1 lead heading into the third period. Ivan Provorov would cut into the lead, getting his 5th goal of the year, assisted by Severson and Del Bellouz, I believe, 12:38 of the third period. Unfortunately, Columbus was not able to tie it up, so the score would remain 3-2. The Tampa Bay Lightning played host to the Ottawa Senators. Michael Amadio would kick things off late in the first period, getting his 4th goal of the season on the power play from Gregg and Perron, 14:09 of the first period. Luke Glendening would tie the game up early in the second period, 1 minute and 44 to be exact. For Glendening, that would be his 3rd goal of the year, assisted by Lilleberg and Parabix. Nikita Kucherov would score on the power play, getting his 25th of the season, assisted by the captain, Victor Hedman, 7:38 of the middle frame. Claude Giroux would tie the game up 9.5 minutes into the middle period, getting his 11th goal of the season, assisted by Chabot and Stützle. Brandon Hagel would score early in the third, giving the Lightning a 3-2 lead. For Hagel, that'd be his 23rd goal of the season, unassisted, 1 minute and 56 seconds into the third frame. The Sens were down by a goal just over 2 minutes into the game, or 2 minutes left in the game, Ryan McDonough would score on the empty net. That would be his second goal of the season from Hedman and Cirelli. A minute and 35 seconds were remaining on the clock. Just 15 seconds after that, Drake Batherson would cut into the lead, getting his 16th of the season from Sanderson and Schott, and that goal happened with a minute and 20 seconds to go in the game. Unfortunately, the Sens were not able to mount a comeback, so the Lightning would win 4-3. The Pittsburgh Penguins played host to the New Jersey Devils. In the first period, late in the first I should add, Jack Hughes would give the Devils a 1-0 lead, getting his 22nd goal of the season, assisted by Bratt and Palat, just 17 seconds remaining in the opening frame. He would score again in the second period, getting his 23rd of the season, assisted by Bratt, 9 minutes and 14 seconds of the second. Ricard Raquel would score with just over 5 minutes to go in the second period for Raquel, his 24th goal of the season, assisted by Crosby and Carlson. Kevin Hayes would tie the game up in the third period, getting his 9th goal of the year, assisted by Joseph and Beauvillier. There was no scoring the rest of the third or overtime. We would need a shootout to decide this winner, and Timo Meier will get the game-winning goal in this shootout, giving the Devils a 3-2 win. The Washington Capitals played host to the Florida Panthers. Andrew Mangiapane would kick things off for the Capitals in the first period, getting his 11th goal of the season, assisted by Sandin and Dowd, 14:08 of the opening period. With just 30 seconds remaining, Sam Bennett would tie the game up at 1, getting his 17th goal of the year, assisted by Boqvist. In the second period, the Panthers did have a power play. Unfortunately, they would give up a shorthanded goal to Tom Wilson. That would be his 22nd goal of the season, assisted by Protas. A minute and 15 seconds in the second frame. Alexander Barkov would tie the game up in the second period, getting his 13th goal of the year, assisted by Verhaeghe and Reinhart, 4:14 of the middle frame. Lars Eller would score in the third period, getting his 9th of the season from Carlson, 2 minutes and 19 seconds, giving the Capitals a 3-2 lead. Nick Dowd would increase the lead to 4-2, 6 minutes and 10 seconds in the third. For Dowd, that'd be his 11th goal of the season, assisted by Mangiapane and Strome. Matthew Tkachuk would cut into the lead, getting his 19th goal of the year from Schmidt and Bennett, 7 minutes and 46 seconds of the third period. Alexei Protas would get an empty net goal, increasing lead to 5-3 for Washington. For Protas, that'd be his 22nd goal of the season, and that goal happened with 1 minute and 39 seconds to go in the third. And literally with just, I think it was just like 0.5 seconds or 0.3 seconds. Either way, it was just under a second to go. The Panthers were down by 2. They pulled the goalie again. Ovechkin would get his 25th goal of the season, assisted by Farabee and Nick Dowd. So the Capitals would win 6-3. The New York Islanders played host to the Vegas Golden Knights. In the first period, Bo Horvat would give the Islanders a 1-0 lead with 1 minute and 39 seconds to go in that frame. For Horvat, that'd be his 19th goal of the season, assisted by Palesh and Siplikov. Wrong way. Brandon Saad, newly acquired. He was just recently signed by the Vegas Golden Knights, I should say, would get his first goal as a member of the Golden Knights. That would be his 8th of the season from Hague and Nick Roy, 7 minutes and 40 seconds of the third. Brock Nelson would break the tie, 10 minutes and 43 seconds in that same period, getting his 16th of the season from Romanov and D'Angelo. So the Islanders would win a low-scoring game, 2-1. The Edmonton Oilers were in St. Louis to take on the Blues. Connor McDavid would kick things off for the Oilers in the second period, getting a power play goal. That would be his 22nd goal of the season from Bouchard and Draisaitl, 5:50 of the second period. Jordan Kyrou would get a power play goal himself in the third period. That would be his 23rd of the year, assisted by Shen and Dylan Holloway, the former Oiler. Colton Parayko would break the tie, 8:58 of the third period. giving the Blues a 2-1 lead. For Parayko, that'd be his 12th of the year, assisted by Thomas and Buchnevich. Leon Draisaitl would score with 2 minutes and 14 seconds, tying the game up at 2. For Draisaitl, that would be his league-leading 37th goal of the season for McDavid and Ekholm. We would need overtime to settle this one, and big surprise, Connor Brown will get the game-winning goal. His 7th of the year from McDavid and Bouchard, 2:33 of the overtime frame. I find it so fascinating that he struggled to score last year, and I think I can't remember when exactly he got his first goal of the year, but he had a huge ovation when he did, and now he seems to be fitting in a little bit more comfortable in year number 2 with the Oilers. Sorry. All right, now we're off to Winnipeg as the Winnipeg Jets played host to the Carolina Hurricanes. Nito Niederreiter would score a power play goal in the first period with just 42 seconds to go. For Niederreiter, that was his 14th goal of the year, assisted by Iafallo and Namastikov. He scored against his former team. Well, one of his 2 former teams. Three former teams, sorry. Neil Pionk would increase the lead to 2-0 in the second period, getting his 8th goal of the year, also on the power play from Perfetti and Niederreiter. 3:13 of the second frame. Rasmus Kupari would increase the lead to 3-0 with just under 4 minutes to go in the game. For Kupari, that would be his 5th of the year from Appleton and Gustafson. So the Jets would shut out the Hurricanes 3-0. The Calgary Flames played host to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Matt Coronado would kick things off for the Flames in the first period, getting his 14th goal of the year on the power play from Huberdeau and Nazem Kadri. William Nylander would tie the game up early in the second period, getting a power play goal of his own. That would be his 31st of the season from Nyes and Austin Matthews, 2:36 of the second frame. John Tavares would break the tie, getting a power play goal himself, his 21st of the year from Matthews and Riley, 3:17 of the second frame. Igor Sharangovich was like, hey, give me a power play goal too, and he got one, getting his 11th goal of the year from Uyghur and Kadri, 5:58 of the second frames. We had 3 goals in the first 6 minutes of the second period. Bobby McMahon would give the Maple Leafs their first lead of the night. For McMahon, that'd be his 16th of the year from Lawrence, 12:28 of the middle frame. William Nylander would strike again, getting his 2nd of the night, his 32nd of the year from Max Pacioretty. Still so weird to see Max Pacioretty in a Toronto Maple Leaf uniform. Obviously being a former Hab and a captain of the Habs, so it's a little odd seeing players go to like their rival or rival teams. Anyways, so that happened with 1 minute and 42 seconds to go on the clock, increasing the lead 4-2 for the Leafs. Matthew Nyes would increase the lead to 5-2, 5:44 of the third period, getting his 20th of the year, assisted by Austin Matthews. Joel Farabee, recently acquired from the Philadelphia Flyers, would get his first goal as a member of the Flames, his 9th of the year, assisted by Huberdeau and Uyghur, cutting into the lead, making it 5-3, 6:02 of the third. Late in the third, Calgary did pull their goalie. Unfortunately, they weren't able to score, and William Nylander would get his 3rd goal of the game, and hat-trick, and his 33rd of the season unassisted. And that goal happened with 44 seconds to go in the game. So the Leafs would win 6-3. The Utah Hockey Club played host to the Philadelphia Flyers. Rodrigo Abels would get his first career National Hockey League goal, 2 minutes and 2 seconds in the first period, assisted by Travis Sanheim, putting the Flyers up 1-0. Mikhail Sergachev would tie the game up in the second, getting his 10th of the season, assisted by Genther and Hayton, 3:32 of the middle frame. Tyson Forster would give the Flyers a 2-1 lead, 4:29 in the second period. For Forster, that'd be his 14th of the year from Couturier and Brink. Dylan Genther would tie the game up at 8 minutes and 40 seconds in the third. For Genther, that'd be his 17th goal of the year from Hayton and Sergachev. We would need overtime to settle this one. And Genther would get his 2nd goal of the game-winning goal, of course, with just under a second to go. So this game was so close to going to a shootout. And the Utah Hockey Club obviously prevailed. So for Genther, that'd be his second goal of the game, his 18th of the season from Sergachev and Keller. The Vancouver Canucks played host to the Colorado Avalanche. Jake DeBrusk would break the tie in the second, getting his 19th of the year from Hronek, 426 of the middle frame. Brock Besser would score on the power play, getting his 17th of the year from DeBrusk and Hronek, 8 minutes and 20 seconds of the third. The Avalanche were down by 2. They pulled their goalie. Unfortunately, they weren't able to score. Drew O'Connor, recently acquired from the Pittsburgh Penguins, would score, getting his first goal as a member of the Vancouver Canucks, his 7th goal of the season, assisted by Sheedle, got his first assist as a member of the Canucks, and Tyler Myers, with just 9 seconds to go in the game, so the Canucks would shut out the Avalanche 3-0. The Seattle Kraken played host to the Detroit Red Wings. In the first period, Lucas Raymond would break the tie, 3:36 of the first period, getting his 21st of the year from Larkin and Casper, 3:36 of the first. Matty Beniers would score 9:28 of the first, getting his 12th of the year, assisted by Kakko, tying the game up at 1, 9:28 of the first. Moritz Seider would score with just 30 seconds to go in the first period, getting his 5th of the year from the Brinkett on the power play, giving the Red Wings a 2-1 lead heading into the intermission. Shane Wright would break the tie in the second, getting his 10th of the year from Burakovsky and Fleury, 6:29 of the middle frame. Jonathan Bergman would give the Red Wings a 3-2 lead, 12:02 in the second period. That would be his 9th of the year on the power play, assisted by Kopp. Elmer Soderblom would increase the lead to 4-2 for Detroit, getting his second goal of the season, assisted by Valino and Edvinsson, 3:21 of the third period. Shane Wright would get his second goal of the game, his 11th of the season, from McCann and Dunn, 10:10 of the third period, cutting the deficit to 4-3. With just under 3 minutes to go, Chandler Stevenson would tie the game up for Seattle, getting his 10th of the year from Tanev and Tolvanen. This game would need extra time. Unfortunately, nobody would score in the overtime frame. We would have to go to a shootout, and big surprise, the veteran Patrick Kane would get the shootout winner. That'd be his 12th of the season. So Detroit would go into Seattle and win 5-4. And the last game from Tuesday, I think there was 14 games. That's a lot of teams. 28 teams to be specific, took place in Anaheim as the Ducks played host to the Dallas Stars. In the first period, with 2 minutes and 13 seconds, Cutter Gauthier would give the Ducks a 1-0 lead. That would be his 9th of the season, assisted by Fabry. And that will happen, like I said, with 2 minutes and 13 seconds to go in the first. There was no scoring in the second. Early in the third, Colin Blackwell would break the tie for the Dallas Stars, getting his 5th of the year from Steele and Ben, 1:29 of the third period. Trevor Zegras would break the tie, 4 minutes and 7 seconds in the third, getting his 6th of the year from Killorn and Zellweger. And the Canucks would win, the Ducks would win 2-1 in this matchup. All right, now take a look at Wednesday's action. Just 3 games to report, so a light schedule compared to the night before. And even though I cheer for Montreal, it doesn't necessarily mean they were the first team to play. It's just because I cheer for them, so therefore they're going to be the first team that shows up on the schedule. So Montreal was doing a back-to-back and 3 games in 4 nights. They lost to the Ducks, they beat the Sharks, and then they went into LA on Wednesday to take on the Kings. Vladislav Garakov would score 1:39 of the first period, getting his 3rd goal of the year, assisted by Byfield. Mike Matheson would tie the game up in the second, getting his 4th of the year from Caulfield and Hudson, 3:51 of the second frame. Warren Fogle would get a penalty shot goal, 5:23 of the second period, putting the Kings on top 2-1. Brant Clark would score just 15 seconds in the third period, giving the Kings a 3-1 lead. For Clark, that'd be his 4th of the season from Kopitar and Turcotte. Alexander Kere would score, cutting the lead to 3-2, getting his 3rd goal of the year unassisted, 3:37 of the third period. Kevin Fiala would score 10:46 of the third period, giving his 19th goal of the year, assisted by Lafayette and Byfield. so the Kings had a 4-2 lead just over halfway through the third period. Logan Mailloux would score, getting his second goal of the season from Newhook and Doc, 13:37 of the third period, cutting the lead to 4-3. Kevin Fiala would get his second goal of the game, his 20th of the season from Garakov and Byfield, 14:12 of the third period, increasing the lead to 5-3 for LA. Montreal would pull their goalie down by 2 with over 2 minutes to go. Unfortunately, it did not pan out as Trevor Moore would get the empty net goal, his 8th of the year, assisted by Foegele. So the Kings would double up on the Habs 6-3. An original six matchup took place in New York as the Rangers played host to the Boston Bruins. There was no scoring in the first. Artemi Panarin would break the tie, 6:07 of the second period, getting his 23rd of the year, assisted by Zibanejad. David Pastrnak would tie the game up with just under 5 minutes to go, getting his 28th of the year, assisted by Zacha and Charlie McAvoy. Staying in the second period, just 16 seconds after Pastrnak scored, Elias Lindholm would get on the goal scorer sheet himself, getting his 10th of the year from Marchand and Zadorov. Vincent Trocheck would tie the game up at 5:27 of the third period. For Trocheck, that'd be his 16th goal of the year from Miller and Brodzinski. The Bruins were on the power play in the third period. Unfortunately, they were not able to score, but they also gave up a shorthanded goal to Chris Kreider, assisted by Zibanejad and Fox. For Kreider, that'd be his 16th goal of the season, and that happened 11:54 of the third period. And there was no scoring after that, so the Rangers would win 3-2. And the last game from Wednesday took place in Chicago as the Blackhawks played host to the Edmonton Oilers. Victor Arvidsson would score in the second period. There was no scoring in the first, getting his 7th goal of the year from Janmark and Kulak, 8:51 of the second frame. Lucas Reichel would tie the game up with just 6 seconds to go in the second period, getting his 5th goal of the year, assisted by Tarabanin and Mikheyev. In the third period, Jeff Skinner would break the tie, getting his 10th of the year from Draisaitl and Podkolzin, 1 minute and 11 seconds of the third period. Leon Draisaitl would score, getting his 38th of the year from Skinner, 8:18 of the third period, giving the Oilers a 3-1 lead. Ryan Donato would score, cutting into the lead, getting his 16th of the season on the power play from Teravainen and Connor Bedard, 12:12 of the third period. With just under 4 minutes to go, Alec Martinez would tie the game up at 3, getting his 3rd goal of the year, assisted by Donato. We would need overtime to settle this one, and Zach Hyman would get the game-winning goal, his 19th of the season on the power play from McDavid and Evan Bouchard, 1 minute and 36 seconds of the overtime frame. Okay, so now I'll take a look at the standings. And as I always do, I'm just going to scroll over. There we go. So starting in the Atlantic, the Florida Panthers are still in first place of the Atlantic, but just narrowly. They have a record of 32-20-3. They have 67 points. The Leafs are 1 point behind them with a record of 32-19-2. And the Ottawa Senators, I apologize, are 29-21-4. They have 62 points. The Washington Capitals are still atop of that Metropolitan Division, which I find so crazy and mind-blowing. With a record of 35-11-7, they have 77 points. The Carolina Hurricanes are 32-18-4. They have 68 points. The Devils are 2 points behind them with a record of 30-19-6. The two teams in the wildcard, as we speak, are both from the Atlantic. First is the Detroit Red Wings. They have a record of 28-21-5. They have 61 points. The Lightning are 1 point behind them with a record of 28-20-4. And the rest of the Eastern Conference looks like this. The Boston Bruins are 27-23-6. They have 60 points. Same amount of points as the Tampa Bay Lightning, but they're on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoffs. The Columbus Blue Jackets are 26-21-7. They have 59 points. The New York Islanders are 25-21-7. They have 57 points. Their interstate rival, or the city rival, I guess you could say, the New York Rangers are 26-23-4. They have 56 points, 1 point behind the Islanders. The Montreal Canadiens are 25-24-5. They have 55 points. The Pittsburgh Penguins are 22-24-9. They have 53 points. The Flyers have the same amount of points. Their record's slightly different, 23, 25, and 7. And the Buffalo Sabres are 22, 26, and 5. They have 49 points. All right, now we'll take a look at the Western Conference. In the Central Division, the Jets are still atop of that division with a record of 38, 14, and 3. They have 79 points, a 10-point lead on the second place Dallas Stars, whose record is 34, 18, and 1. And the Minnesota Wild are 3 points behind them with a record of 31, 19, and 4. Off to the Pacific, as if you're an Oilers fan, you should savor this moment. They are currently sitting in first place in that division with a record of 34, 16, and 4. They have 72 points. The Vegas Golden Knights are 31, 17, and 6. They have 68 points. And the Los Angeles Kings are 28, 17, and 6. They have 62 points. Two teams in the wild card. One is from the Central. One is from the Pacific. The Colorado Avalanche are 31, 22, and 2. They have 64 points. They're just 2 points behind Minnesota for third place in that division. And as for the Calgary Flames, they are 6, 20, and 7. They have 59 points. They're 5 points behind Colorado, and they're 3 points behind the Kings. All right, taking a look at the rest of the Western Conference. So the Vancouver Canucks have the same amount of points as the Calgary Flames. The record's slightly different, 24, 18, and 11. The Utah Hockey Club are 22, 22, and 9. They have 53 points. The St. Louis Blues are 24, 25, and 5. They have 53 points. The Ducks are a point behind them with a record of 23, 24, and 6. The Seattle Kraken are 23, 28, and 4. They have 50 points. The Nashville Predators are 18, 27, and 7. They have 43 points. The Chicago Blackhawks are 16, 31, and 6. They have 38 points. And the San Jose Sharks are 15, 34, and 6. They have 36 points. All right, that's going to take care of Tuesdays and Wednesdays recap from the National Hockey League season. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, and as always, take care.